Alrighty, my friends, back on day 3 here on this Land Rover Discovery 2, which is coming along. I don't want to say nicely because this thing is a rust bucket, and I mean badly. So where we left off in the previous episode was got as much as I can figure out right now from on the top disconnected. We need to now go underneath and get some stuff done there. So before we go underneath, one thing you need to do is disconnect the wheel speed sensors. And those are located here. Now I have that one unplugged already, but the two in the front are pretty decently easy to get to. Basically it's a plug that looks like this and it just pulls right out. So if you can get two hands in there, great. Otherwise, if you gently pull it, it should come out without, destroying anything. But once you unplug this and release that, then this part with the black is going to pull down through right here. We got enough light in here? No. Yeah, barely. So up there, that little grommet is what we're going to pull through. So hang on with me one second. So basically, just grab it with your hand gently, and just pull it straight down through. And there you go. And then it might be, I can't really see anything. This thing is so badly rusted. I think they zip tied that one. And wow, this thing is so bad underneath here. And it was this bad before, and now that it's kind of been sitting, it's probably just, gotten worse. As I mentioned, the Rust Never Sleeps Club. This is appropriate here. All right, well, we're gonna jack this thing up off the ground. I've got it kind of ready to go up in the air. You got to go around all four corners and disconnect all four of the plugs, like I did on this one as well. And then in the back, it's the same thing. They're a little easier to get to because you can see them right here. You don't have to climb up anywhere, but just disconnect that. Then the last thing you're going to do is disconnect the brake lines. And these are usually a 12 millimeter nut on here. And if you unscrew that, just get ready for some fluid to come out so you have a catch pan ready. And this left front fender, I don't know if anything can be replaced here at all, but there's a huge hole there and in the side. I have no idea what to do on this, but anyway, these brake lines, I've just decided I'm not doing this. I'm not saving any part of this whole thing. We're just gonna cut it and just be done with it, because all four of these lines, just for safety reasons alone, should be replaced, just considering how rusty this is. The lines up above, they look okay, but down towards the bottom here, they're rusted out, and it's just a safer bet to we're gonna have the whole thing apart anyway. It's nothing to run brake lines when you have access to the frame like this, so let's just do it right. Okay, I am getting ready to start thinking about making a plan to start thinking about getting these bolts off here. This is the passenger side front body mount. And the first thing I'm noticing is, as I was attempting it, it seems like these might be Imperial bolts, which is odd because it's an English truck, of course, but these bolts might be 1/2 inch. In fact, my 1/2 inch wrench fits on there perfectly. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it says 1/2. So I thought these were 15 millimeter up in here, and I believe I'm starting to strip it out already. So maybe these are Imperial. The problem is I don't have a long enough Imperial socket to get up in there, so I got to go to the store. And while I'm at it, I'm in the back seat here. You've got to get to, apparently there are bolts and nuts at the top underneath here. There are, I think, 2 of them. So in order to get to these, you gotta lift the carpet up. But I wish I had known this before I started the job. So this will be a note that I will put in maybe in episode 1 or 2, that you've got to move your seats the whole way up, because I cannot get to those bolts. They are apparently up under these front seats. far enough that I'm having a really hard time getting to it. So I don't know if I can pull this carpet out or not, but I've had a heck of a time just trying to get this far on it. So a note to self, you will have to move the seats all the way up because they're electric and everything's completely disconnected. I don't know any way to move them unless I maybe find the leads on them and shoot, I don't even know what to do. So note to self, note to you all, I will definitely update this and make sure everybody knows. The last little thing to think about is apparently the other bolts that are back here, they may be up and under the carpets here as well. So you have to peel back the carpets, I think, and put a wrench on the top of these so they don't spin. Okay, 1 down, 13 more to go. I don't suspect they will be any easier than this. And this one was not easy. I think I did figure out that these are imperial bolts. So I think this one is a 9/16 and the top is 1/2 inch. So you gotta have the right sockets, especially with these things being on here for 20 whatever years and the condition this thing was in. I can't imagine this being any easier. I'm going to probably resort to cutting these off. I really don't want to do that, but I will if I have to. Okay, this is the side I first tried, which is the driver's side front one. And because I didn't realize these were Imperial SAE sockets and that was 1/2 inch, I sort of rounded it off, unfortunately. And so what I've got in there is a pair of vice grips. I'm hoping that holds it in place at the top. At the bottom, what we're gonna do is we're gonna heat this up with some MAP gas. And I've successfully rounded that one off too. So this one, I'm praying, because the washer bottle is right here, right in the screen, that I don't have to try to cut this thing off. Again, that one, I picked the easiest one first. Maybe I should have saved that for last, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat this up with MAP gas. I don't wanna melt the washer bottle, of course, so I gotta be selective on where that flame goes. Then I'm gonna pound the 9/16 socket on and hope that the vice grips on the top hold, and then I can get this one out. Okay, well, this did not work. Everything rounded off up there, and I just can't get anything going up there, and so I took the front bumper off. I had to do it anyway. And now I'm in through the backside here, and what I've done is I've got my oscillating tool, right? And I'm going in this way and just giving it hell. Gonna cut through it this way, and very loud, so I have some ear protection on, and I'm just gonna have to muscle through it. Hopefully this blade will hold up. So far, you know, it's looking okay, but wow, this is gonna be about as bad as I thought it would be. Okay, this is absolutely miserable. I tried every tool I have in here. You can see I've cut in there with my rotary tool. I just can't get the whole way through it. I've gone through 2 blades. I've beat the heck out of this thing with a hammer and chisel to try to break it off, but I think it's just not giving way because there's rubber right there. It's just kind of flexing as you hit it really hard. Normally if it were secured tight, it would snap, but I'm gonna have to probably go through a couple more blades just to get this one off and cut through this way. I was gonna use a plasma cutter as well, but I just can't get it in there. So, wow, this sucks. I've been at it for over an hour. Okay, this is real life right here, people. Whenever you decide you want to take this job on, if it's rusty like mine, there it is. That's the guy that was holding everything back. That's just, I have 12 more of these to go. Oh God. All right, for the second one back here, I pulled out every tool in the arsenal. There's no way these bolts are coming out. I mean, they had to be cut. So I was actually able to get my Sawzall in here, a little bit at a time, but then I was able to cut that one out. Next one back here, on the very tippy top, the disaster side of this, you can't see it, but there's a nut head. I was able to get a pair of vice grips on it, hold it. I cleaned the threads up really, really good with a wire brush, lubricated it with, with penetrating oil, and half an hour later I was able to unthread this one. So this one is actually came off. Next one down the line is another Sawzall. So I Sawzalled it, and then I used my rotary cutting tool. Let me show you what that one is. So if you have this, you're going to need it. Something like this with a disc on it. And that, I was able to kind of cut into it afterwards and cut the rest of the head off of it. And that's about as far as I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm exhausted. This is a horrible job. Here's just a little reminder as to why we're doing this job. As difficult as this job is, this vehicle is undrivable. I mean, it does run and the wheels move, but it is not safe to drive this thing around in any way, shape, or form. Again, the previous owner went to a lot of time and effort to hide this. Now, this is a couple of years old, this work, but they basically went in, filled the frame with spray foam insulation, then they put body putty all over it, and they sanded it, and then they put undercoating on it. And they did a really good job. They spent a lot of time deceiving somebody. And I wish I could meet the guy who did this, because it would be an interesting conversation, I'm sure. But all I'll say is that the level of dishonesty that is in this vehicle is astounding me. And it is the whole way up the frame. They did this kind of work, just completely misleading. This, they went to such an effort to hide all this that it actually tricked my inspection station. They passed it. And it was just shocking when things started to fall apart here, and I realized what levels people went to be dishonest. And frankly, like I said, this is so unsafe. If anybody were in an accident or were towing something here, it would have been really bad. So folks, don't do this. Don't do this. Either sell it and disclose it, or just junk it. Okay, here we are underneath this very rusty frame. For the captive bolts that are up really under the rear seats, I'm at the rear of the vehicle. This is the gas tank back here, the tailpipe, obviously. I had to cut them off. And because we're throwing the frame away, I guess I shouldn't be afraid to just cut into whatever it takes, meaning these support mechanisms. If we were reusing the frame for some reason, I would have probably not done that. But anyway, I had to cut the bolts away on both sides. They just were not coming out. There was nothing. I tried a bolt extractor. I tried everything. It just rounded and rounded and rounded. On the upside though, in the very, very back, these are captive bolts here. So these ones right there, they came right out. This one over here, it came right out. So that was great. Otherwise, everything else has been incredibly difficult. And these ones that are here under the outriggers, the best thing I've been able to do, and actually the two on the other side, I did get the nut to come off, but up underneath, way up there, you can get a pair of vice grips on the top of that bolt head. And what I would recommend you do is you clean up the threads. So I got a wire brush on the end of my drill. I went over these on all sides that I could. Clean up the threads as best you can, so you're not fighting all the undercoating and rust and gunk and so forth. And hopefully that nut comes off a little easier. Okay, I've worked my way around. I'm on the driver's side now. I'm running into, on these outriggers, there's a bolt on the top, a bolt head on the top, but it's badly rusted. The head basically, rounded off pretty easily. getting a pair of vice grips on it and having it stay while you try to crank this bolt, I've tried, literally hours, I'm done. So we're pulling out, once again, the trusty rotary cutoff tool. So I'm literally cutting right through this area right here. And if I get into the outrigger, I don't care, because we're not keeping the frame anyway. But I'm gonna try to cut the bolt, cut through the nut, and just, I'm gonna destroy this in the process, but it is what it is. All right, well, what I did is I took the cutoff saw and I just ran it up on either side. I know it's a little out of focus there, but I ran it up on either side of the bolt, cutting the nut off. And then I just got a hammer and started hitting it upwards, and it's now loose. That'll be ready to come off. All right, and the last one I had to do was this one, which is right basically under the footwell of the driver's side, right where your feet are, the gas pedals are, and so forth. Again, that one, of course, never coming out. Sawzall had to be employed to basically cut it out. So all 14 body point mounts are now cut. I think I had 3 or 4 that actually came out on their own, but you can see this thing is totally trashed. So what's left? So 2 things, I think. I'm gonna double, triple, quadruple check. There are connectors that lead from the wiring harness up above down to the catalytic converters, and those need to be disconnected. And then the fuel tank, the hose, I think, which is back here, that right there needs to be disconnected, and this breather hose right there. So once those 2 are undone, maybe that breather hose up there as well. I'll double check everything, but I think that might do it. There's some wiring here. Looks like it is connected to the trailer harness adapter here. So I'll try to save that, disconnect that. And then again, just double, triple checking around. So I'll report back here in a second. Okay, the gas tank connection, there are 3 of them that lead up into the body. I don't know if they're attached to the frame or not, but I didn't take a chance. I just disconnected. These are pinch on either side, and then they go, then they pull out. Both of them are the same. This hose clamp was a little odd. I don't know what I'm looking at here, but basically I had to use a pair of needle nose vice grips to undo these. There was no nut on it. Hard to explain. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this before. Maybe it's a hex key in there. I have no idea, but anyway, that was a little tricky to get off. But once it kind of broke loose with some penetrating fluid, it came off. I'm sliding it towards the gas tank, and then I was able to release the collar here from the gas tank itself. So, like I said, I went up and unplugged the oxygen sensors. So again, I didn't know if I needed to do all 4 or not, but I did. So I did the front one, that front one, which is right there in the foreground, and then the 2 rears after the catalytic converter. Again, I just didn't know what they were, where they ran up to, so a little hard to see, but there's the wire there for the rear one. So I'm gonna run around here and double check everything. Maybe we're close. Okay, good thing I did a double check. I actually forgot this one here. This is under basically the driver's seat. And I was counting to myself, I'm like, I think I only did 6 here, and there are definitely 7. So I got the light up in here and realized, oops, I had forgotten that one. So good thing I'm double checking. And one little tip, I like to use this kind of spotlight, right? I shine it, this is just me, maybe you don't need this help, but I do. I tend to my mind just starts going everywhere. Whenever I'm doing a big job like this and I gotta remember a lot of things, I use the spotlight to literally spotlight the stuff that I'm looking at, and my eyes don't go anywhere else. So I'm making sure that I've got everything disconnected. I don't see anything that is, you know, concerning. And I just look right where the light is and go up and down, shine up, make sure that I've got, you know, what I need to work on done. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. I may find a few things here, and if I do, I'll let you know. Okay, I'm seeing just one small thing here. This wire that runs up the shock tower, it's secured with a little zip tie. So I've done this a few places where just snip them off, and again, I don't know what I don't know. Maybe this part stays with the chassis, I don't know, but now we have it free. And just walk around, make sure you've got all these little things like this taken care of. Okay, one thing I remembered, if you remember from previously when I was inside of the vehicle, is the cables from the transmission area. This here cable, I can't point to it and hold the light, sorry, but this silver cable right here that runs up, that is the parking brake cable. So if you remember, there was like a rubber grommet up there. I couldn't push it through, but I was able to get my hand way up there and kind of just gently but firmly pull it, and it came right down. So I think that's separated. And let me see if I can, I don't know if you can see it up there, but I'll try to hold the camera. All right, let's see if we can get this. So yeah, it actually looks like it's ready to pull right through. So that's good news, and actually it did. So that's one issue. I see an electrical connector that probably needs to be addressed, and that is, a little tougher to get to, but this right here. So I'm gonna have to, no, it's impossible to see that. All right, there we go. So up in here, this electrical connector is definitely coming down into the chassis here somewhere. I need to make sure that that dude way up in there, it's really hard to see, isn't gonna yank out or break anything. So we'll have to double check that. And then finally, the gear selector is up in here somewhere. So sorry for the lack of light, but you know, good things to double check. And just a reminder, you've got fuel lines unplugged here. Every time I walk by the rear of the vehicle, I can smell gas. So be real careful. No sparks at this time. Do not have any sparks. So just be gentle, be careful with anything you're doing. If there's a way you can kind of maybe put a baggie or something over these fuel lines, I think I might actually do that just to be double sure. Last thing you want is a problem with that. You'd have probably a small fire here. You may not even know it. And then all of a sudden your whole garage is gone up in flames. So keep this handy. I mentioned it before. Keep a fire extinguisher at the ready. I almost usually even pull the pin just in case I need to get to it quick. And that 1 second matters. So safety first. All right, what we're gonna do next is, I think we're gonna lower the vehicle here. And I'm really sorry if I didn't mention it previously. I actually had a professional body man repair the rocker panels on this just to make sure. I mean, they were, again, like everything else on this, was pretty rotted out. I don't remember, one side was better than the other, but I said, you know what, just do it right, rebuild everything. So he put in partial floor pans, rebuilt the boxes for the rockers, and then we put these rock sliders on, and everything's been undercoated. So the other thing I'm worried about is trying to lift this thing up. I don't know if the arms on my lift can get short enough to grab these rocker panel rock sliders. That is a concern. So anyway, just thought I would point it out that when you are going to jack up with this area here, obviously that needs to be really structurally sound, or you will have a real big problem. So make sure that's first and foremost. And right now I'm going to poke my head back inside here and just see, you know, where that electrical wire was coming up through here, and make sure that I don't even know. So we're going to come back to you. Okay, I think I figured it out. It's this one that goes down through. I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to disconnect. There's 1, 2, 3. one's not connected. Looks like there's really just 3 connections here that lead down through the bottom. And I will, I guess, really keep an eye on this whenever we go to lift the vehicle. All right, I've got everything squared up the best I can on these arms. I'm gonna just kind of give it a little test here, see what happens. All right, it's up a couple inches and I don't hear any noises, so I guess we'll walk around and do a little check with my spotlight. To say this is a little nerve-wracking is an understatement, but I've got about 3 inches up in the air from the frame, from the chassis, and all's looking good. So I'm running around now to check the things. I actually wrote it down on a little list. So down there, let's see if I can focus in on it, is the steering connection. And as I suspected, once I lifted up on the body, I was able to get the rest of that steering shaft, that intermediate shaft, off of the steering box. So that just popped right off. That's great. And interestingly, the front is definitely coming up, but the back doesn't seem like it's really moving. We're definitely up in the air, so I don't know if I'm hung up on something, because there doesn't appear to be any movement. So I'll keep looking around here. Maybe we can figure it out. Sorry for the zoom in on that, but okay, we're gonna keep plugging away here. Hey, I'm back inside, and that plug that leads down underneath the transmission, I'm gonna just fish these wires down through here. It seems like it would be the safe thing to do. So what you do to the trick to this, the hole's not big to get all of them through at the same time, so you just do really one at a time. We're gonna push the black one down through, and then whatever the next one is, just fish it down through one at a time. There's only 3 here, so they should all go down. And here goes the third one. So now I feel a little bit better about that. I've been able to push the transmission gear selector down through a little bit more. So I'll keep working on that. I do see, obviously, the diff lock is definitely way lower, so that's good. And I think really with this transmission cable, once we get that down and through there, that'll probably be about it. I hope. I'm going to keep an eye on things very closely. Okay, definitely something is hung up, and I don't know what it is. You know, we have the back end is lifting completely off the ground, so I missed something. All right, here is the donor chassis, and I'm just gonna go through this visually and figure out what, if anything, I'm missing. This might be easier way to tell. So I've got 1, 2, 3 on the outrigger, 4, this is the one I had missed at the very end and had cut, 5, and then these ones were really hard to get to, but I got them. I had to cut them from the bottom. So that's 6, and then here's 7. These, surprisingly, were the only ones that actually came out fairly easily. What else could I be missing? Hey friends, remind me that I need to spray some wasp spray in the frame. Looks like that would not be a great surprise. Well, I took the rear bumper off, wondering if I had missed something. And of course, the bolts that hold them on just snapped immediately, and there's just nothing back here. But I thought that's fun to look at, right? There's an example of the spray foam insulation that somebody put in there. All right, I told you this was a learning experience for me. I've not seen any documentation on how to do this job. I've searched. I didn't see really much other than, like I said, some high-speed videos of people doing it. Anyway, under the back seat, got to fold it forward. Another reason to move the front seats up so that you can fold the back ones up, because look what I found here. This little flap comes up, and what do you know? Right underneath there is a little hard to see, but that's the what I thought was a captive nut. And long story short, I put a 15 millimeter on there, and it came right out. So I was left with this that was at the top, and that's the nut the other side that I had cut off from below. Might have been just as easy to, you know, come through the top and do these. So note to you, while you're doing this, maybe check this first. That would have been nice. So I'm gonna do the other side and see if it comes out as easy. All right, fingers crossed, people. There's what we're trying to get to. And let's see if this comes out. Nice, unbelievable. Maybe, yeah. Well, again, there's where I cut it from underneath. That might have just been what we're looking for. So with any luck, this thing is coming up. And I kind of bagged up and taped the lines just to be double sure, because I thought I was going to get underneath there and grind. But I won't have to do that. So I'm going to take this tape off, disconnect the fuel lines, and then we'll try jacking it up again. All right, here we go. That was it. That was it. Perfect. Yeah, those two bolts underneath there were holding it. And now look at that. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna do a little walk around, make sure I haven't missed anything. There are, I think these are breather lines from the transmission, from the rear differential. There's a little hose that runs on the top of that plastic hose, and it runs up into here, and then there's a breather line that runs up back behind the tailpipe, or excuse me, the tail light up there. So what you do is you pop these little green caps off. You just use a screwdriver right into that little, let's see if we can focus in on it. You'll see like a little groove. Well, will it focus? Maybe. There's a little groove right there. Just pop your screwdriver in there. That gets this green cap off. Then it's a two-handed job, but basically you push this little red clip in as you pull the black hose out. It's the one thing that actually just came right apart on this truck. That's a good sign of things to come, isn't it, people? All right, I'm back inside. As we showed previously, there's the hole where those electrical connectors are coming through. The diff lock selector is now completely down through, and then here is the transmission selector cable. I suspect that'll continue to pull straight through once we raise the vehicle up. And everything under here is looking, I guess, okay. That's the shroud for the starter. That's staying with the vehicle anyway. Oh, look at that work right there. Nice. Well, I guess they had a leak and they just didn't want to fix this the right way, but we will do that. We will fix this the right way. And I'm going to climb underneath to make sure everything looks okay as well. Here's that wire we cut earlier. Looks like that stays with the chassis, but I'm going to follow this up, make sure. We'll see where that goes. Okay, yeah, that line actually leads to these bits that we unplugged that were under the fuse box. So this is going to stay with the engine. I'm going to like prop this up here behind the bungee cord. Yeah, and I think my biggest concern is making sure that I don't tear any of the engine apart. You know, I guess I'm going to get my flashlight in here and just, again, double check everything. But so far, I mean, you know, when I raised it, I didn't hear anything tearing or ripping or clanking. I'm hoping that it just continues to go smoothly. Yeah, one thing I'm thinking of here, yeah, the brake lines, yeah. The brake lines, these are raising, yeah, they're already bending. Okay, so I've got to disconnect these brake lines right here, here, and here, and let them stay with the chassis. And since I said I'm putting new brake lines in anyway, I just cut them. Here's the brake lines for the rear, right here and here. And you can see that where it says, it's upside down, but it says right, or rear left, rear right. Anyway, those are the two that were gonna give me problems. This one for the front is already cut, so that's loose. And the one for the other side is just, you know, up in the air over there, so we're good. All right, let's keep looking around here. I'll report back in a second. Okay, check it out. You can see if I can zoom in there, but basically those are the wires that we pushed down through. Good thing we did that, because that's definitely attached into the transmission some way. So that's really good that we did that. So that's an important one. Don't forget that. The other thing I see up there, and I'm just not in a position where I can show you, but I do see the transmission selector cable coming down through. It's not completely out. I don't see anything else that's attached. So far looking good. All right, this black hose right here, this comes from the charcoal canister, and I just realized that'll definitely need to be disconnected, and that's pretty easy. That's right here at the top, and that leads to right here, this plug right there. See the light colored part? You pinch on that side and the other side, and then it goes this way. And actually I was able to pop it out real quick, so there, that needs to be disconnected. We missed that. Way down in there, I missed a little tie. That wire is connected to the body with that little plastic clip. And right now I'm on the passenger side of the engine bay, and it's down in there. That's the wire that we actually clipped that was connected to the shock tower. It just has one more little clip. We gotta take care of that. All right, and as I run my eye straight back here, you know, I'm looking at the steering intermediate shaft, and you know, that's already loose. There's nothing on the frame that runs over to the body that I can see on this side. Everything down here in the engine compartment seems to be staying with the engine, so I think we're good to go a little further. So, all right. Again, I probably haven't emphasized this enough, and I'm joking when I say that, but I double, triple check absolutely everything. Look, there's some breather valves here. These black lines, these black hoses right here, they're connected to the breather for the transmission, I think. Anyway, yeah, they are. So we want to make sure these are kind of out of the way. Here's the old brake lines, and those are, like I said, already cut, so I'm not worried about those. And yeah, that's the orange plug. That one there is for the front oxygen sensor. So yeah, definitely want to disconnect that. And oh, look at that guy right there. So while we're in here, we're definitely replacing that. That's the crank position sensor. One of the hardest jobs to do on this vehicle. Unless you have the engine out, then it's easy, but it is a ton of work to get that little guy replaced. And if it fails, the engine doesn't start when it gets warm, when it's warm. And you'll go to fill your gas tank up, go to start it, and nothing. So you have to wait for it to cool off, and then it sometimes will restart. But underneath that little cap there is the crank position sensor. We will be replacing that one. Hey, also while we're in here, this is a really good look at the XYZ switch. This can also be problematic, and what happens over time is the air conditioning condenser vent, I think there's like a little hose right above there. Can't really see it right now, but we'll maybe be able to find it. That the water tends to drip down onto the XYZ switch and then ends up corroding it, and then you have all kinds of issues in the cabin, and things don't shift right, and you know, all kinds of weird things. So this seems to be working fine. We're not going to do anything with it, but if you want a good shot at it, now's the time. We could replace it. I have a couple of extra ones actually, so I might do that. Maybe not. But regardless, we're going to clean everything up in here. make this look as good as we can, and find out where a few of these little leaks are coming from and get that stuff all fixed up. All right, one more look here under the driver's side, the left side of the vehicle. Everything looks clear. So I think we're good. We're gonna lift this up again a couple more inches at a time just to make sure everything is good to go and we're not tearing anything out. All right, biggest moment of embarrassment. I forgot about something really important, and that is this big black hose cable. It connects to the engine, lots of different places. I'm decided that the easiest place to disconnect it will be actually inside of the vehicle. So you follow it back, and there's a rubber grommet right down there, and easy enough to disconnect. Now you got to go inside, and this job would have been a lot easier prior to it being on the lift. You got to take the glove box out. These are 7mm, 4 7mm bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have pretty decent access to the wires that are coming through. You got to unplug them and fish those up through there. That would have been a disaster if I had started to pull this thing apart and ripped all the harness wires out of the main fuse box. That would have been bad. Okay, well, I discovered it because I was doing 1 inch at a time and saw the my battery's gone dead. Saw the stress on that wire and realized I had made a mistake. So I will try to post this somewhere about the mistake made. And really, just like that, those plugs are out of there. That was actually really easier than I thought. And everything that leads into that silver box up there, I believe that's the main ECU for the whole vehicle. It just gets unplugged, and now we'll just gently pull them out of the front and we should be ready to get back on track. All right, because this stays with the engine, oh, we got another plug. So it looks like down here, this plug right here, that's on the body, and that needs to disconnect and stay with the engine. So we'll disconnect that and I'll be right back. Right, and so the easiest thing to do for this plug that was down here is I bent this bracket forward a little bit just to get this slides off. There's like a pin down here. It's a little hard to see, but basically you slide the whole plug off, and then that gives you easier access to pop the top part off, leave that part go. Last thing there is here are some grounds, and it's a captive 10mm, and just keep in mind there's one little baby wire that goes with it, so when you put that back on, no doubt you don't want to forget both of those wires. All right, another look around. We're gonna go again real super slow, another inch or so, and see what we might have missed. And it's pretty difficult to see, but right there where the light is shining, right there is the differential lock. And I saw it kind of suspended there. I was able to push it around, and I see a little black wire that's holding it up. So we're gonna go inside, see if we can figure out where that wire is coming from, and then nicely let that drop. And then I literally think we are good to go. But that little wire, I don't know where that's going to, so we're gonna figure it out. Those black wires, they look like they're permanently wired to the transfer case module. And then I don't know if this is like maybe a hack, but it sure doesn't look factory to me, so I don't really know what it is. Long story short is we're gonna have to cut the wires. So I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that, but I think we're gonna have to do that. So these two little black wires coming off of what I think is like the cigarette lighter. I have no idea what this is. Like this, I think this is the light for the cigarette lighter, this thing here. And I don't know. Well, they're getting cut, so there's no other way around it. We have to disconnect them some way. Yeah, if anybody can tell me what those are, you know, it looks like a circuit that's maybe been hacked in here, positive and a negative from, I think this is to the back of the cigarette lighter. It's either the power for the cigarette lighter or the light to it. Either way, looks like 12 volts. Somebody tapped in here, so it's going down to that selector. So anybody has any ideas, please let me know. Something pretty important. The steering linkage got hung up on the secondary air intake pipe. I definitely heard some crunching, so I stopped immediately and checked it out, and that was what was holding it up. And in fact, it was hung on so much it was actually moving moving the frame, the chassis of the vehicle a little bit, so I knew it was pulling on something. Right, I thought I had everything. Saw this last little guy hanging on for dear life, and that is the brake booster. I just pulled it right out of the brake itself. Somebody, again, the previous owner, epoxied the other side into the intake manifold. It would be way easier to disconnect it there, but we'll have to tackle that another time, so I just pulled it from the brake booster itself. The dipstick wanted to come along for a ride, but I say no. Here she is, folks. This was a interesting job. I would say it is not easy, and it was definitely one of the most challenging things I've ever done, and I feel like I'm only a third of the way done. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my tractor. I'm going to pull out the old chassis here into the daylight, and let's see what mysteries it will show us. Like, for example, how bad can rust be? Well, this will no doubt be the end of episode 3, so let's just go through what we see here. And, you know, it's even more shocking than I expected. When I get to see this in broad daylight, you can see, particularly right here, the top of the frame rail. And then look how thick they put this body putty in here. That's easily 1/2 inch, maybe more, of body putty to hide the frame. I mean, this is just disgusting. People, come on, do not do this. Now, again, no one to blame but myself. I bought this sight unseen, but the dealer I bought it from sent me pictures, and I'm telling you, it looked good in the pictures, good enough that, you know, it even passed PA inspection. So this is way worse than what it was, simply because of it sitting for the last 2 years outside and just further deteriorating. I mean, this is insane. There's, well, some nice, have a nice home in there, and then the frame rails. These, you know, to see these rotted out is really no surprise, the rear part of it, but everything else up here is shocking. So this is really, really disappointing, but I'm glad I'm going to be able to rescue this Rover and see if we can get this new frame in here and under it in the next week or so. That'd be great. Well, anyway, it was a lot of work to get that done, so the only thing that really is holding this frame together or some hopes, some dreams, and probably Pennsylvania humidity and salt. Lovely.